Even though it is the last thing in the world that I need right now, I just picked up another project vehicle for the channel, and if everything goes according to plan, this new vehicle is going to be the new home of the 8.1 that's currently mounted in the ugly truck. Now, I know that you guys are familiar with the replacement big block we're building for that project. It's a 535 cube big block. It's going to produce like 15 to 1700 horsepower. It's going to be turbocharged. The short block is done, and we're waiting on a few things for the valve train to finish up the engine build. And that's going to get mounted in a four-wheel drive chassis. And this whole thing is going to kind of come together over the next couple of months. But if everything goes how I think it will, we're going to have a spare big block sitting around. So I needed a vehicle to put it in. Now, side note, I am actually taking the ugly truck down to Las Vegas this weekend for a test and tune session, and we're going to try to get it to run in the 10s. The last time we were at a track was in Colorado. It was a really high elevation. We ran on 1166. Since then, we have cranked up the power, so hopefully it'll run like a 1099 or faster. But anyway, if the engine survives that, well, we don't want to have a spare big block just sitting around collecting dust. So that's where this new vehicle comes into play. Now, you guys do know me as a truck guy. Throughout my professional career, that's literally all I've built, or literally all you have seen me build in media and stuff like that. But I've owned a couple of muscle cars throughout the years, and this time I wanted to put that big block in something a little bit lighter and something that had a little bit better chassis, better weight distribution, better suspension, something that we can make better use of the horsepower that the engine has. So I guess the only question is, what color Mustang did I buy? Psych, we actually didn't get the Fox body. I got a little bit newer car, but it is still based on the Fox body platform, which is one of the reasons why I love these Mustangs, because the Fox chassis basically went from 79 to 04, and they are really, really good at hooking up on a drag strip. Now, I do like Fox bodies. I owned a 90 LX, but after looking at the white GT, I just decided I wanted a new edge car. I had 3 of them back when I lived in Idaho. Actually, no, this will be my 3rd. So I had 2 other ones. I had a black 99 GT. We did a 4-cam V8 swap in that one. And then I had a red 99 GT, both 5-speed manuals. And that one I didn't do a whole lot to other than just drive it around. But I love the styling of those cars, and I feel like they don't get a lot of love anymore. Everybody loves the new Coyote stuff, which, I mean, yeah, those 5-liter engines are awesome. And we'll talk about that in just a second, because I'm debating something here. But in terms of the car that I picked up today, boom, we got ourselves a blue 2003 Mustang GT. It's a 4.62 valve. This car is almost completely stock, and really, other than the color, there's not a whole lot special to say about it. I mean, this car was owned by a guy who bought it like when it was 2 or 3 years old, and he's had it ever since. I think his kids drove it for a while. The things that I love about this car, number one, mechanically, it is bone stock. So it hasn't been messed with, it hasn't been modified, and it's been looked after. So that's really, really awesome. Things that I do not love about the car. Well, let's talk about the paint, because the paint on this is obviously not the original color. It is like a Mako cheap repaint, so it definitely shows in a few places. It looks nice, and probably on camera you won't be able to see a lot of it, but the bodywork is not the greatest, but I think with some wet sanding and polishing we might be able to bring it up to snuff. Absolutely hate the white vinyl on here. We're going to try to peel that off, although it is pretty old. I think it's like 3 to 4 years old. You can see how it's kind of cracked up here along the roof. That may make my life difficult trying to pull it off, but I love how the Mach 1s look of this era. So they had like a little black panel on the hood, not 2 stripes, but just a little black section there, and a black rocker stripe. So I love the Mach 1s, and we're going to probably duplicate that on this car. Ditch the white, get some black stuff on there. Obviously, we need tint. The stands. I cannot stand how tall these Mustangs are from the factory. I call them like 4-wheel drive cars because, I mean, just look how tall it is. So we're going to lower it almost immediately. We're going to swap out the wheels and tires. I have no idea what these are. They look like they belong on a Subaru or something like that. I'm going to call them like, you know, those Costco specials where you go to the Costco and they have different wheels and stuff you can buy. I think it has like mismatched tires. There's snow tires on the other side, but I feel like it's a good solid shell to build into a sort of kind of race car, whether it winds up with a big block or something else. We'll talk about that later. What I love about the car, I love the color. It's bright, it stands out. Yeah, the paint job's not the best, but I love how the color looks. And number two, this car has been looked after in a very, very meticulous way. Like, this guy has records of everything that's been done to the car for the past 15 years or so, or however long he's owned it. And it's been really, really well looked after, and it was not owned by a kid. It hasn't been modified. Other than a Flowmaster exhaust, this car has not been touched. It has the factory mid pipes with the cats. Like, literally, it has everything stock. I guess it does have a cold air kit on there too, but as original as I could find. I hate buying cars that have been modified and kind of neglected and abused. So as far as I could tell, this was the cleanest new Edge Mustang that I could find. Now, doing a little bit of research on the color, it turns out the L5 Azure Blue is actually a factory 0304 Mach 1 color. My car originally was, I think they call it True Blue, which was like a darker navy, almost a metallic, which looks okay. I think the True Blue does look better, but the more I look at the bodywork, the more I realize it's gonna need some help. So eventually we're probably gonna be getting out the bodywork tools and the paint gun, and we're gonna get this thing spiffed up and looking nice. But the main thing we need to figure out is what powertrain is going into the Mustang. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you the reason why I bought the car is because I wanted a new home for my turbo big block, which is true. That's the reason why I bought the car. But after thinking about it for a couple of days, the more I realized that may not be the best choice. So there are three different options that I have to choose from, but I'm actually going to leave it up to you, and you are going to be the one that decides by placing a vote at the poll that's going to be live on my homepage by the time this video goes live. So there are three different options. Number one, the reason why I bought the car is the 8.1 swap. So the pros to that engine is it's free, I already have it, and it makes a ton of power. At the last dyno day, it made 800 horsepower and like 1,100 pounds of torque at the wheels. So it's a powerhouse, but the disadvantage is it's large and it is extremely heavy. I think by the time we have the engine, you know, all the fuel system and the turbo stuff and all the piping that's going to go along with it, that whole powertrain package, just the engine and turbo stuff, is going to weigh probably 900 pounds, if not a little bit more. So that's a ton of weight, especially compared to some of the other alternatives, but it also makes a ton of power. Option number two, which you have to choose from, is probably my personal least favorite, so I'm going to try to sway the voting a little bit, is an LS swap. Now, LS engines, and I'll even lump the LT engine in there. I kind of thought about doing one of those, but call an LS swap like the most common engine swap on the planet. And there's a reason why. They're affordable, they're plentiful, and there is a huge aftermarket support for them. So pretty much you can make as much power as your checkbook can afford with an LS engine. But it's a cliche. It's a little bit overdone, and that's part of the reason why I don't want to do it. That's like when I started my 8.1 build, that's why I wanted to do an 8.1, is because it was not overdone and cliche. Anyway, option number three, which you have to choose from, is a Coyote swap. Definitely, I am not a Ford guy. I'm GM sort of in my blood or whatever, but that doesn't mean I won't look outside General Motors for a power plant. The Coyote engine has a pretty substantial following. They can make a lot of power, especially considering their displacement. It's only 5 liters compared to, you know, say a 5.3 or a 6.0 or a 6.2 or an 8.1. But they have an amazing cylinder head that can flow a lot of air. They can turn a lot of RPM. And I think my favorite part about the Coyote engine is the really awesome sounds that they make. It has kind of a unique sound, especially when compared to some GM pushrod stuff. Downside to the Coyote, though, is cost and availability. They're definitely more expensive than junkyard LS engines, but I'm kind of intrigued about them. So I've actually never driven I've never owned or even driven a Coyote-powered vehicle. So I'm kind of, yeah, I'm on the fence. But anyway, this is up to you. So go over to my homepage, answer the poll. There'll be 3 options on there. Let me know which engine we should put in the Mustang, or if there's something that we missed on the list, drop a comment down below and let me know what you would like to see in it. And if you want to learn more about the 8.1 that we have tentatively slated for the build, check out this other video on my Silverado build. So thank you for watching. Come back soon.